So Hussein Haqqani, just following up though, given all the risks that she knew she faced, why did she go back?
Benazir Bhutto always said that Pakistan needs me and I need Pakistan. I know I started out as a young man being one of the many middle-class critics of the Bhutto family, only to learn that the big change they represented in Pakistan was they brought democracy and they brought politics to the poor of Pakistan. So when you meet Pakistan's upper classes, they still have the cynicism about her, but the truth is she had an idealistic side to her. She cared about the 65 million people of Pakistan who live below the poverty line. She cared about the 65 million who just lived above the poverty line. Yes, she wasn't particularly popular amongst the 30 million who live very well off, although she herself was one of them. But her ideals were, this country has to become a moderate country based on the will of its people, and it has to be a country where poor people can be cared about. Let me tell you a little story.
Actually, let me just interrupt you for a second, get back to Mark Siegel, and then I'll get right back to you. But Mr. Siegel, her 2 terms as Prime Minister, as we know, were definitely faulted for both sort of management and competence, and also on allegations of corruption. Now, publicly she always said, well, nothing's ever been proven, I've never been convicted. But was she any more reflective or forthcoming about that in private? What did she say about that?
Well, first, she was very constrained in both 2 terms by the intelligence agencies, by the military, by the establishment. She never had firm control of the government because of them. Charges were brought against her for corruption, but that's when you bring down anyone in Pakistan under the Constitution, you charge incompetence and corruption, including the Chief Minister, the Supreme Court Chief Justice, who was brought down again for the same charge. She was never convicted of any of these things. With all of the ammunition of the government against her, she was never been convicted. Her husband was in jail for 11 years and was never convicted. Saying all of that, she's learned a great deal. She was ready to be a great prime minister for a 3rd term. She understood modernity. She was a bridge between East and West. She was a bridge within Islam, between the forces of Islam, and she understood that extremism thrives under dictatorship, and she was determined to stop that.
So Hussein Haqqani, given though everything, actually, I just want to follow up with Mark Siegel on one other thing. Now, just before she returned, actually I've read that to you, forgive me for that. So Hussein Haqqani, explain to me, given all her criticism of Musharraf, including what she said in the email to Mark Siegel, why did she still try to negotiate a deal with him to share power? Because as you know, that led people in Pakistan, some ordinary people even, to say, well, she was just interested in power.
Well, the deal was about a transition to democracy. That's where they fell apart. After November 3rd, she suspended all negotiations. That's the day Musharraf imposed a state of emergency, because he never took her into confidence about the state of emergency. Having a negotiation is something that came naturally to Benazir Bhutto. She, even when I was, as I told you, I was an opponent, but she reached out to me and she said, what are you doing opposing us? Your ideas and mine are similar. You should work with me, for me. And so she negotiated not because she wanted something, of course, if she got elected, she would serve the country. She negotiated because she thought that there can be only 2 ways out of a military dictatorship: a blood in the street scenario, or a negotiation in which there can be a transition in a phased manner. That is what she was hoping to accomplish. And you must remember, people criticized her a lot. She stayed her course, and now, by all accounts, the people were coming back to her. If you look at the opinion poll trends, the people who left her because they thought she was cutting a deal understood her argument, and now she was back to her popularity ratings of before.
Finally, Mark Siegel, explain one other apparent paradox. She was so viewed in the West as the symbol of the modern Muslim woman, yet she was also very much the daughter of traditional Pakistan, wasn't she?
She was. I mean, she came from a family that was a major landholder in Sindh, but she had progressive parents. I mean, both the 2 boys and the 2 girls had equal education. They both were encouraged to serve publicly. She was a modern woman, but she did have strong roots within Islam and within the traditions of Pakistan. The book that she has just completed, that I helped her with, Reconciliation in Islam, Democracy in the West, talks about the reconciliation between the West and the East, between Islam and the rest of the world, and the reconciliation within Islam of the forces of fanaticism and the forces of true, tolerant, pluralistic Islam. Benazir Bhutto was a wonderful woman. She was a brave woman. It was an honor to know her and an honor to be her friend.
Mark Siegel and Hussein Haqqani, again, our condolences to you both, and thank you.